Iraq War, 2003 to 2011. The Iraq War began in March 2003 when the United States, supported by the United Kingdom and other coalition forces, invaded Iraq to overthrow the government of Saddam Hussein. The main justification provided by the US and its allies was that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, which posed a threat to global security. However, the absence of such weapons after the invasion sparked widespread controversy and criticism regarding the war's legitimacy and the rationale behind it. The beginning of the war and key justifications. The United States argued that Iraq had developed weapons of mass destruction and that these weapons could be provided to terrorist groups threatening global security. Additionally, Saddam Hussein's authoritarian regime and his human rights violations were used as reasons to justify the removal of his government. In March 2003, the Operation Iraqi Freedom military campaign was launched, involving heavy airstrikes and ground operations. Coalition forces quickly overwhelmed the Iraqi military and seized the capital, Baghdad, leading to the fall of Saddam Hussein's government. Key phases of the war. Saddam Hussein fled Baghdad in April 2003 as the city fell, but was eventually captured in December 2003 and executed in 2006. After the fall of Saddam Hussein, Iraq descended into a period of instability marked by sectarian violence, insurgency, and the rise of extremist groups such as ISIS. Sunni and Shia militias clashed, leading to widespread destruction and death. In 2004, the Battle of Fallujah became one of the bloodiest urban battles of the war, with U.S. Marines fighting insurgents for control of the city, which had become a stronghold for rebels. This battle was particularly devastating for both American soldiers and civilians. Major impacts and outcomes. Following Saddam Hussein's overthrow, the social structure of Iraq was radically altered. The Sunni Arab-dominated regime gave way to a government largely controlled by the Shia and Kurdish populations, which further fueled sectarian tensions. The war caused extensive damage to infrastructure, including electricity, water systems, and medical services, leaving much of the country in ruins. Additionally, terrorist groups and insurgents gained influence in the region, further destabilizing the country. The rise of ISIS, Islamic State, was one of the most significant consequences of the Iraq War. By 2014, ISIS took control of large parts of Iraq and Syria, creating a new conflict in the region that lasted for years. In 2011, after years of insurgency and efforts to stabilize the country, the United States began its troop withdrawal, marking the official end of combat operations, although the region remained unstable. Results and global impact. Saddam Hussein was executed in December 2006 after being convicted of crimes against humanity. The war caused the deaths of tens of thousands of Iraqis and over 4,000 U.S. military personnel. Millions of Iraqis were displaced, and the conflict resulted in severe damage to the country's infrastructure and economy. The war created a power vacuum in Iraq, which allowed extremist groups, particularly ISIS, to thrive in the aftermath of the U.S. withdrawal. The global political ramifications of the Iraq War were significant. The absence of WMDs in Iraq led to accusations of misinformation, and many questioned the legitimacy of the invasion. The war also strained the relationships between the U.S. and some of its international allies. The aftermath and legacy. The long-term instability in Iraq continued even after the U.S. withdrawal. The rise of terrorist organizations like ISIS and ongoing sectarian violence remained major challenges for Iraq. Reconstruction efforts in Iraq were complex and faced many obstacles. Despite the country's oil wealth, which offered potential for economic recovery, the challenges of rebuilding infrastructure and creating a stable government were immense. The Iraq War remains one of the most controversial military interventions of the 21st century. It highlighted the limits of military power in addressing complex political and social issues, and sparked ongoing debates about foreign intervention and military engagement in the Middle East.